Salakia. Man, but anyway, getting back to the video. Anyway, it says millions of Southern California forced to cut water use amid drought. Okay, so I left off on the last segment. I was just playing the video, so I'm gonna start from the beginning, and we're gonna play the video, and I'm just get a couple precepts. Salakia was distracted. A couple of co-workers came in the vehicle, so I wasn't able to finish the lesson in one sitting. But Lord's will, we finish it and just give you brothers and sisters an update on what's happening in the world, and we'll take it from there. So anyway, here we go.
Millions of people in Southern California are being ordered to cut their water use right now due to an historic drought. One major supplier declared a water shortage emergency. Residents in Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and Ventura counties have all been told to immediately reduce water usage by up to 30%. CBS News senior national and environmental correspondent Ben Tracy brings us more from Los Angeles.
This is real, this is serious, this is unprecedented. But it's the changing climate that we cannot rely on anymore.
Southern California is now in a first ever water shortage emergency. 6 million people will be forced to limit all outdoor watering to 1 day a week. A total watering ban could be imposed by the end of the summer.
This is a crisis unlike anything that we've seen before. We really only have a little more than half of the water that we need to be able to make it through the summertime and into the end of the year.
In December, blizzards blanketed the Sierra. But after the driest start to the year in California history, snowpack is just 32% of normal, and reservoirs are about half full. More than 95% of the Golden State is now suffering severe drought.
January, February, and March are wettest months in California. And this year, we've just had nothing at all.
NASA scientist J.T. Reger says the American West is now in a 22-year-long mega drought, the worst in 1,200 years and intensified by climate change.
A lot of people would call this the new abnormal.
That's right. We're just starting to see the dominoes fall. So it's drier, we have less water in reservoirs, then we have fires, and in California there's really this series of...
Well, that's because the dude is cutting down all the damn sycamore trees, man. I believe that's what they are. They're fireproof trees, if I'm not mistaken. I believe those are the ones that's like fucking 30, 40 stories high. They're as tall as skyscrapers damn near. But they're known as, I believe, sycamore trees, if I'm not mistaken. And they harbor the red forest or the redwoods out there in, I think, Northern Cali. Okay, Gad was very heavily populated in that area, but it was a lot of strange phenomenon that happened in those woods that Gad oftentimes warned other settlers about going so deep in those woods, because Gad understood the spiritual aspect between the different entities and so forth that harbors these particular forests and ley lines. So Gad kind of understood that, and they were so dense and thick. Okay, but nonetheless, Esau, he's chopped down, I believe, 95% of those woods, man. That's the reason why you are facing all this drought, because, hey, you're destroying the eco. You're destroying everything, okay, because you're a damn devil. All right, the Lord told you on what to do. If you cut down a tree, I believe you plant 2 more, if I'm not mistaken. Or you plant another one. I think it's in the, I know it's in the law, but I can't recall it. I think it's 2 trees for every one you cut down. I believe you plant 2, because it's a balance, okay? Trees dictate our breathing, okay? Our lungs, the carbon intake that we're taking on a daily basis, okay? This is the reason why everybody is sick, because, the brother said it beautifully, man. We broke it down. Basically, the trees are over carbonated, so to speak. So therefore, they're overly pollinating the air. So this is the reason why brothers are sick and losing taste and smell, because the trees are being taxed, man. They're producing too much pollen. And when all that pollen is in the air, it's off balance. That's why the scriptures say that the foundations of this world is out of course, roughly paraphrasing it, man. All right, and we'll get that scripture, but I want to finish this video real quick, and now we'll get the precepts. So here we go.
Consequences that we anticipate.
And Ben Tracy joins us now to talk more about this. Ben, in your report, you mentioned the Sierra Nevada having a third of what it normally has at this time of year, and that reservoirs are half full. So what does that mean for the water supplies in California, with only a third of the Sierra having what it needs right now?
Yeah, it's a real problem because the way to think about the snowpack in California is it really is the state's savings account. So during the winter, it's supposed to pile up a bunch of snow, a bunch of ice that's holding a bunch of water supply in there. And then when the warmer weather comes in the spring and the summer, that slowly melts and it trickles down into the state's system of reservoirs, canals, pipes, and that moves water across California because Northern California traditionally a lot wetter than Southern California, so a lot of that water is then moved down to Southern California. So right now, when you only have 30% of the snowpack and the reservoirs are already half empty, there's not going to be a whole lot of water coming into those reservoirs. So the state is really starting out the dry part of the year in really bad shape because, Errol, the real bad news here is we traditionally don't get really any rain here in California for about another 7 months.
And we were just overhearing some emergency sirens in the background, similar to what state officials are trying to do in telling everyone this drought is severe and we now need to make these cutbacks. I can remember even my time in Arizona and there in Los Angeles hearing of droughts. These things aren't uncommon, but do you get the sense that Californians specifically right now are aware of how urgent the drought is and how severe measures need to be in order to have enough water to get through the summer?
There's likely a bit of drought fatigue here. I mean, this is something that cities like Los Angeles here have been dealing with on and off for the last decade and a half or so, where you'll have restrictions in place and then they're removed when we have a wet winter and then they're put back when we have a really dry one. There's kind of two groups of people in this state. I'd say the folks who work in agriculture, the farmers up in the Central Valley, the folks growing grapes along the coast for California's world-famous wines, they're very aware of all the drought issues because their livelihoods depend on it. You have people here in Los Angeles, other cities and towns across the state, and you get a sense that life is kind of normal. You drive by giant lawns that are very green and it's all grass, and you kind of wonder why we're talking about whether you should water your lawn or not, and really why we're not talking about whether you should have a lawn or not in a climate like this. So I think it's going to hit home for people in the next couple of months when they realize they can only water one day a week and their lawn goes brown. And the water officials have been very straightforward. They said we're heading towards a total ban on outdoor watering. And this isn't just lawns. That means
See, that's wicked, man. That's just Esau being overly oppressive, man. That's what this devil do, you know? Anyway.
can't wash your car and you can't fill your pool. Those are two pretty important things to people, especially here in Southern California.
Yeah, quality of life at risk. You mentioned also in your report climate change is intensifying the ongoing drought in the West. Just explain the impact climate change overall is having on this entire dynamic.
It really is a vicious cycle because what is happening, scientists say the West is getting hotter and drier. They often call it the aridification of the American West. So even when you do have precipitation fall from the sky in a place like Nevada out by Lake Mead, which is the nation's largest reservoir, the soil around there is so dry that so much of that precipitation just gets soaked into the ground and never makes its way into the reservoir. So even today, if you had the same amount of precipitation you might have had 10 years ago, it would not result in the same amount of water in a reservoir because so much of that just gets soaked into this already parched ground. So as you get less rain and less snow, this problem just compounds year after year.
Which is why we should all be aware of the water that we consume and use, but what a major issue for those in the Southern California region. Ben Tracy, great report. Thanks very much.
Were you
Yep, but that's this devil though, man. And on top of that, that's prophecy and those plagues that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is smiting this earth with, man. Okay, and it's gonna get worse, like we've been saying through the spirit. So let's go to the book of Psalms 82, and I'm gonna start at verses. Let's start at verses 2. It says here, "How long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked?" Okay, who's the wicked? Starting first and foremost, the so-called white man, which is Esau, Edom. It says, "Selah, but defend the poor and fatherless, do justice and afflicted to the needy." Okay, and that's us. "And deliver the poor and needy and rid them out of the hand of the wicked." Because, I mean, it's getting to the point that if people have to cut down water intake, but the earth is 70% water. So why the hell do I got to cut out water intake? You know, that's stupid. You're surrounded by a whole goddamn ocean. Okay. And it says here, "They know not, neither will they understand, and they walk on in darkness, and all the foundations of the earth are out of course." It's right, because if you have to ration out water now, but yet you're surrounded by a gigantic ocean, that shows you that there's a problem with the rulership of this planet Earth, man. Okay, and Esau Edom is that problem. Okay, we know how you Jakes feel about that. We know that you Jakes love your devil. You know, you nigga woman, you love the so-called white man. But a spade is a spade, man. Okay, Esau is the wicked. Point blank, period. And there's no getting around that. All right. Let's go to the next precept real quick. So this is the book. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back to that real quick. We're going to go to the book of Sirach 10. It's 10. 10 and... Yep, 10 and 4. Matter of fact, let's start at verses 3. It says, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. Right? Okay, because once we get in rulership, we're going to govern the earth with the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay, it's not going to be any shortchanging any Israelite in the kingdom, because every man is going to get his just reward based on his works and his faith in which he believed. Okay, even the 2/3 are going to live great in the kingdom of heaven. They're not going to live as good as us, Lord's will, we the elect, but they're going to still live better than any other nations. Okay, 2/3 are going to be straight because they're going to be Israelites. But it says here, but the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. Okay, because Esau is not profitable into the earth right now, because like I said, man, it's to the point that people can only use water one day a week to water gardens. You know, he's talking about, well, we only going to get rain 7 months from here. But wait a minute. You know, you got up there in Seattle, Washington. Washington is a very tropical climate up there. It rains pretty much every day in Washington. Okay, California, just 2 states, I believe, Oregon, Washington, Cali. Or I believe that Cali did in Washington, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, they harbor in that Pacific coast. So my thing is, if Washington is getting a lot of rain, shouldn't parts of Cali get rain too? But see what Esau does, he disrupts the weather. He's starving the people out. He's depleting the earth of his resources, man. And this is the reason why this devil has to go. All right. Last precept here, and I'm going to shut it down. This is the book of 2nd Ezra 6, and I'm going to start at verses 23. It says, and a trumpet shall give sound, which when every man heareth it, they should suddenly be afraid. Okay. And these are the warning signs. These are more like the birth pangs that's compassing, okay, like it goes into the birth pains compassing a woman's womb before she's ready to give birth. This is nothing more than that, okay, because they're talking about global food shortages, which I'm gonna cover, Lord's will, in my next lesson. It says, and at that time friends shall fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein, and the springs and the fountains should stand still. In 3 hours they should not run, okay, because hey, like they said, they're rationing out water right now. All right, and to the point that if they can't use the water like they're supposed to, then, hey, that's going to create more issues, more famine, more pestilence. You see? And it's all done by design through this damn devil. Like we've been trying to tell you, so-called Negroes, Hispanic, and Native Americans, man, that the so-called white man is the devil that the Bible talks about. We don't care whether you believe it or not. Okay? But anyway, brothers, giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. And with that, shalom and a baba ball.